You're listening to Popcorn Unscripted,
the podcast where we dive into movies and TV shows with no scripts, no filters, just real talk and plenty of popcorn.
I'm Bailey.
And I'm Dylan.
We're here to talk about everything we love
And love to hate
in pop culture. So grab your popcorn,
sit back,
and let's get this show started. Knives Out came out of nowhere in 2019 and made murder fun again. It's got the energy of an Agatha Christie novel and the attitude of a modern dark comedy, and it just works. Like, absolutely works. Welcome to episode 39. So why I picked this movie, I've wanted to watch this movie for a while, and, it came out in 2019. I remember all of the things, all of the, stuff that was coming out, and, I remember all of the marketing for this movie. I remember it vividly, and people had always said it was good, and when I watched this movie, yes, I already knew that Ransom did it, but while I was watching it, I was like, wait a minute, how does Ransom get, as I was watching it, everything was pointing to Marta. And I was like, how is Ransom involved if Marta's the one that done it? And so it still caught me off guard, I guess, how he did it and how everything connected. It still got me, even though I knew who done it from the get-go. And that's honestly perfect writing on their part, because even though I knew who done it, I still didn't know how he had done it, and it was still an amazing experience for me. I honestly knew it was going to be good because you have Daniel Craig as the detective, and then you also have Jamie Lee Curtis in this movie, you have Chris Evans in this movie. And if I'm going to be frank, those are the only three people I knew that was in this movie. Those were the only three people I knew. And all three of them did a fabulous job. If I want to say, I want to think Jamie Lee Curtis got an Oscar nomination from it, or the movie was Oscar nominated. I'm not entirely sure. I know Jamie Lee Curtis is probably Oscar nominated, but I don't know if it was for this movie specifically. But oh my gosh, this movie is just amazing, and I will say it was a good nod to the whodunit genre. It's like, we need more movies like this. I love these types of mysteries. When I was watching through this movie, I was thinking about that one episode from Doctor Who where they actually met Agatha Christie. And the Doctor and Donna had went back in time and they had ultimately met Agatha Christie, and it had went through a whole thing. It was like a whole mystery thing, and I love those types of movies. I need to find more and watch more of those because I absolutely enjoyed this movie. Figuring out who done it, it was it was a lot like Clue. The movie, that movie's also out too. I remember watching that movie too. It's just an amazing. This I think exceeded my expectations because this movie was done very well. Because even the detective was certainly like a modern day Sherlock Holmes, and I adore Sherlock Holmes. I love Sherlock Holmes. You could blame Robert Downey Jr. for that love right there, but I love detective stories. I love mysteries. I love figuring out who done it. It makes my brain work for once, and this movie was just incredible, and it did an amazing job, doing so. And so, let's get down to the whole plot breakdown and specific story beats. So right out the gate, we get a dead body, a mansion full of suspects, and Benoit Blanc, is that how you say his name? Benoit Blanc? Mr. Blanc, I'll just say Mr. Blanc, is sitting in the background, gentle chaos sponge. And he's just like, as through the interviews, I honestly didn't even notice him sitting back there at first until I actually got to looking around, and I was like, hey, wait a minute, there he is. I didn't even notice him at first. But so Mr. Harlan Thornberry was found dead in his study, and the whole family gets questioned there in the beginning. Not only does the family get questioned, but Marta, who is the nurse for Harlan, she was also questioned as well. And honestly, she's the main suspect of this because she is his nurse. So if there was a suspected murder, she probably would have been the one to do it, right? But ultimately, that's not the case, as we will get to later. So Marta is the nurse, but in the beginning, we're not actually sure that we don't even know about her secret until like maybe a quarter or halfway through the movie. We don't exactly know her secret. But did we? I didn't think she had anything to do with it at first because of the way the beginning was played out. because they interviewed the family members first and got their stories, it got us to thinking, oh, well, she couldn't have done it then. You know, because they just did, like, a game, and we saw the board being flipped, but honestly, I didn't even see her with her back turned, either, but that's besides the point, excuse me. So, you go through all of the interviews, and everybody is lying. Even Marta lies, because here's the thing about Marta. She pukes at the mere thought of telling a lie, which I honestly thought was an interesting character choice for her, because that means you could tell whether she's telling the truth or she's lying. But as time goes on, she figures out how to suppress that and, you know, and make sure nobody found her out. Because there was only, like, a few people that knew about that, when she pukes when she lies. It's honestly kind of a funny thing. It's like a funny nod to Pinocchio, because his nose grows when he lies and she pukes when he lies. I want to know where the writers got that idea from. But anyway, that's besides the point. And so then we ultimately get to the twist midway through. Most murder mysteries hold the reveal until the end. Knives Out flips it mid-movie, and somehow it gets even better. So, we get the confession. We get a confession from her, like, yes, I did it. Like, we even get to see her side, her story play out with Harlan, and she says, and she's like, you know, I accidentally did this. She didn't even realize what she had done. It was just automatic. She was on autopilot as she was giving him her meds, or giving him the meds that he takes, and so it was fairly interesting to watch her, because we know that she is a good nurse. We clearly see that she is a good friend to Harlan, and she is a good nurse to him. And she had never messed up once up until this moment. She had a perfect record up until this moment. So it's kind of hard to believe that she made that kind of big mistake. Especially since we don't really know. But then Harlan was like, he was just doing this casually. He was just like, oh, if I'm gonna die, then I'm gonna die dramatically. And so what ends up happening is he starts writing this death down. Like, oh, somebody could have switched the meds. Oh, somebody could have, like, this would be a perfect murder thing, you know? Like, a perfect idea for a story, because he is a thriller story writer. And so, he goes through all of that, and all the while, he's fine. Like, he had yet to feel any symptoms. Like, we even noticed that he had yet to feel any symptoms, and I'm surprised Marta didn't catch that. He wasn't exactly feeling any symptoms, because he was supposed to be dead within 10 minutes after having 100 milligrams of morphine. I mean, it didn't look like he was having any symptoms, right? Right? Am I the only one with that? Am I the only one that's like, no. He's not feeling any symptoms. He should be okay. I was like, he's acting like he's just fine. He's not feeling any effects from anything. So it's like, what's going on? And then, of course, ultimately, he does commit suicide. We do see that later on. I will get back to that later on. But we do ultimately see that part later on. That he does commit suicide. But only because he was doing it to protect Marta and hoping that the police would rule it a suicide and not do a toxicology report and, and all of that. Because he clearly made it obvious he slit his own throat. So it really shifts from mystery to cover-up. Like, we've already figured out who done it, but now there's this whole thing where we have this whole plot line where Marta and Ransom is trying to cover it up to keep her from, to keep them from finding out that she done it. But of course, the other things happen, which we will get to. And then, of course, Marta, being the kind person that she is, she struggles to keep things clean while everything unravels before her. So while they are all figuring out how everything fits together, it's just, it's just a whole thing, It's like, she keeps messing up. She's sloppy. She doesn't know. Which, to be fair, she's never done anything like this before. She's never made a mistake like this before. So this is all new to her, right? And so, yeah, this is just all really, really weird for her, and she doesn't know what to do, and Ransom is really her only saving grace at this point. And so she's, of course, thankful for him to have all of this help, and, and so, and then we get to the final reveal. Everything comes full circle with a coffee mug, a toxicology report, and one, dare I say, epic monologue from Daniel Craig. You have the donut hole moment there at the end, which, honestly, I didn't really get. I was like, donut holes don't have a hole in the center. I'm just like, I was thinking literally, but they don't. A donut hole is, which, of course, if you ripped apart a donut hole, there's a bunch of holes inside of it. But that's besides the point. That's not. I don't think that's the point that he was trying to make necessarily. And so it's like you have that, and then you have his full breakdown, and this is where we learn that Ransom is the mastermind behind it all. Ransom is the one that did it the entire time, which of course I knew that, but I didn't know how he did it, of course. So he snuck in, he made sure not to leave any footprints, which of course she did because she's sloppy, she's never done anything like this before. And so Ransom ended up swapping the meds, which is what Harlan had wrote down in his notebook, saying that, this would be good for that, And obviously it was, because that's what happened. It's like he already knew what had happened before it had happened. So it was interesting. So that makes me wonder if Harlan knew that the meds were fine, and that, that just made me wonder if he knew something was up, because he was breaking down like the whole 10 minutes. He was like, yeah, I should be, like, he was breaking it all down, and it's just like, wait, like, he's not feeling any symptoms whatsoever. He's not feeling anything. And that's what was strange to me, is that he wasn't feeling any symptoms whatsoever. So she gave him she ended up giving him the right dosages. And the toxicology report proved that. And so that makes me wonder if Harlan knew what had I don't know how he would have known, but if he didn't feel any symptoms, I think he would have he was like, okay, so I'm not dying. I know this because I'm not feeling any symptoms, but she thinks I'm dying. And maybe this would be like, I don't know, but that's what was going through my mind at the time. And then of course you have Ransom's fate, and poetic justice. Yeah, this movie was just full blown insane. I was very satisfied with the ending because Marta ended up puking in Ransom's face. And then of course I laughed really hard when Ransom had used a fake knife to stab her. And he was like, well, shit. Pardon my language, but that's what he says. And so it's like it was just insane. And of course in the beginning, if you listen to what Harlan was saying about Ransom, if you listen to that, he says Ransom couldn't tell the difference between a real knife and a fake one. And he didn't. And so it was just so funny. It's irony. I loved the irony in this movie. It was just great. It was just great. So I'll move on to the themes and the layered chemistry of the movie. So this isn't just a mystery. It's also a satire. It's a class war. And it's deeply so satisfying. Like, if you were to watch this and not know that Ransom had done it, because unfortunately I knew that he'd done it, but I was still sucked in from the beginning. Like, I was still invested because I was like, I wanted to know how he done it. I knew he'd done it, but with everything, I was just like, am I wrong? And he did. Like, I was even second guessing myself. I was like, am I wrong? And he didn't do it? Am I wrong? Like, was people telling me lies? Because it's just, a whole thing. And so you have the inheritance versus the earned success. The whole family throughout the beginning said, we built our stuff from the ground up. But here's one thing that Ransom had revealed. His mom had actually had a loan from his grandfather, which is Mr. Harlan. Had actually gotten a loan from him and then built it from ground up. She didn't build it from ground up on her own. She had a bit of help. And that's what Ransom was trying to get to. Because I think Ransom had like quote unquote good intentions, but mixed with bad intentions. Like, he wanted his part of the will because he didn't want to end up like his mother, and which I think Ransom, I don't know if he could get a redeemable arc or not. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's genuinely possible that he could. I feel like he would, like, go to jail for a little while, maybe, like, 20-something years, maybe, and then he would come back, and, and whether or not Marta would help him would be an entirely different story, which I doubt she would because of how much of an a-hole he was, but I digress. And, and this family, they didn't earn anything. It was all handed to them, whereas with Marta, she had earned what she was getting from Harlan. She had earned his friendship. She had earned his trust. She had earned everything that the family had given her, as well as her mother. She had earned it from, like, day one. She earned it, and that's the difference between inheritance and earned success. She had earned success, therefore Harlan left her his entire inheritance. She earned that inheritance. She earned it. The family, they were just gonna get it, Like, and they would have used it for maybe selfish gain, because most of these family members were indeed selfish. And ultimately, in the end, Marta came out on top. and the family was destroyed, essentially. And then you have the themes of entitlement and privilege. Now, that could be taken with like many that could be taken with so many different angles, okay? That could be taken like so many different ways. So, here's my thing. Ransom is like the embodiment of entitlement. And then Marta has the privilege. She has the privilege of working for this family. She has the privilege of being Harlan's friend and being his confidant throughout the entire thing. She had that privilege. Everybody else was more so entitled to that, and she was more so privileged to have it. Or maybe maybe I'm getting both of them mixed up. I very well could be, because to me both of them sound like the same thing. If you guys understand what I'm saying. To me, it sounds like the same thing. But you guys get what I'm saying. And then, of course, you also have the immigration subtext. And there's a whole talk about it with the family. And they were trying to get Marta. And of course, the family was like, oh, yeah. They thought that she was here legally. Which, Marta is here legally, but her mother is there illegally. She was undocumented. And Marta was documented, and it's really the mother that's undocumented, and she was and she could have very well have been deported, if anything was found out. And so and the family would have never found out about that if it wasn't for Meg, which of course she felt pressure, and I understand that caving to pressure. Peer pressure, it's a whole thing, and I get that, and I understand that, and even Marta was like, it's okay, I understand, I get it, you're fine, like, don't worry about it, you're not, you did what you had to, like, she wasn't blaming her for anything, and that's one thing I love about Marta's character is that she's just so kind. And here's the thing, too, is that kindness always wins. Kindness always wins. Love always wins. Love always prevails. And here's the thing. I genuinely think Harlan loved Marta like a daughter to him. Like, I believe she was like a daughter to him. And unintentionally, really. Because of the relationship that they had. Like, she was the only person that could beat him at Go. And he couldn't ever figure out why, but it's because she played the game the way she wanted to play. She even said, "Oh, I just make a pretty pattern. I don't have a strategy or anything. I just make a pretty pattern." So it's a whole thing, and it's incredible. And the idea of truth winning, even when justice gets messy, is another great theme for this movie. Like, yes, you have, like, a lot of, like everything about this case was just so messy and messed up. It's, like, it's not clean at all. Like, it's really not, because the whole Marta thing is just, like, it's so messy, like, how do you think she could have done it? It's just so messy. And so, yeah, and Ransom being the only one that's, like, wasn't even at the funeral. He missed the funeral, and he didn't show up until it was time to read the will, and yeah, it's just a whole thing with this family. Like, this family is built upon lies. And then, of course, you have all of these other lies. You have the affair between I'm blanking on names, I'm so sorry, but you have the affair, and then you have the daughter-in-law stealing money. Let's see, what's the other thing? I'm pretty sure there was a third thing, but I'm not remembering. But yeah, you had the affair, and then you had the daughter-in-law stealing money. And so it was just like cutting ties with all of them. Harlan's just like, I'm cutting ties with everybody. Like, I don't care anymore. This is the clearest that I've ever thought in my entire life, and I've been catering to all of you my entire life. No more. He said no more. And so he did. And it worked out for Marta in the end, I will say. And then we'll get into my top moments and favorite scenes. Of course, as I've mentioned, Marta puking is actually, in every time she lies, is actually a very interesting character thing. Because you see, like, you know when she lies and when she doesn't lie. And, which, of course, when I was watching it, I kind of had a feeling of when she lied and when she didn't lie. Now, when she was doing her interview with Blanc, in that room, and she was telling him, like, just parts of the truth. She wasn't telling him the whole truth, but she was telling him, like, parts of the truth. And then, at the end, she had told, at the end of that interview, the one officer asked her what kind of medications or what doses of medications does he take, and so you have that part as well where she tells him the truth technically, but she lied about how much she gave him that night, and that's why she ended up puking, because she felt like she was lying even though she technically wasn't. And she just told the parts of the truth, just not the whole truth. And so and then the knife fight fake out, that was pretty fun. Like, that, I laughed so hard at that when Ransom had sat up and, like, lifted up the knife, and it was a fake knife. I laughed so hard at that. I was just like, oh, the irony. Oh, the irony. It's so blissfully good. It's so funny. And then, of course, you have the car chase. The car chase, my gosh, that was, like, the funniest crap ever, because she was in the slowest car, and then all of these were ganging up on her, and she, like, honestly, I was impressed, and also, I was like, this is so stupid at the same time. And then, of course, you have that slow coffee mug zoom at the end, where at the top of the mug it said, my house. And, my house, my rules. I don't remember what the third part of the mug said, but my house, my rules. But I think the main thing it was focusing on was my house. Is what it was focusing on, because now Marta has everything. She has the security, she has everything she could have ever dreamed of, and Harlan gave that to her, and he wanted that for her, for the one daughter that didn't take advantage of him, didn't want him for his money, but just simply took care of him, and just became a good friend to him, and just spent time with him. And and it's honestly sad these days when I hear about people not spending time with their grandparents and spending time with their loved ones, because honestly, that's the most sacred time you could, it's so sacred. Or maybe sacred's not the right word, but it's such a but that time with your grandparents is such a special time. I will never forget the times that I have spent with my grandparents. I will always remember those times. And I will never take those moments for granted like this family did. I will never take those moments for granted. And I genuinely think they did, because all they really saw was his money. All they really wanted was his money and his publishing company. They only wanted what he could give them. And they wanted nothing less. And honestly, I pity this family. I really do. I pity them. I pity them. Because honestly, from what we had seen of Harlan and what kind of man he is, it's honestly a shame what they were missing out on, in my opinion. And and let's just say that final shot with the coffee mug was just pure cinematic pettiness, and I loved every second of it. That final shot was just pure cinematic pettiness, and I loved it. So, getting on to the performances, you have Daniel Craig as Benoit Blanc, the detective. Daniel Craig absolutely devours this role. Foghorn Leghorn meets Sherlock Holmes. He did an absolutely amazing job in this role. He, nailed that accent, I will say. I genuinely think he nailed that accent. I was kind of confused at what accent it was at first, but then as the movie goes on, I'm just like, okay, yeah, I hear it. I hear it now. He nailed it. He nailed that. And then you have Ana de Armas carrying the emotional weight. That's Marta. She did an absolutely amazing job in that role. I do say she played that role to the uttermost perfection. I don't think anybody else could have played that role any better than she could. She fit there, it was just perfect. It was perfect. Perfect casting for this entire movie, if I dare say. And then you have Chris Evans in his peak jerk mode. Now, here's the thing about Chris Evans. Don't get me wrong, I love Chris Evans. I adore him. He's amazing, lovely human being. I've never met him, but I hope to one day, maybe. But he's, it's hard for me to watch anything else that he's in, because to me, I've seen him play nothing but Captain America. And I understand him wanting to kind of get away from that role and kind of establish himself as an actor more in I wouldn't call this a serious movie, but more like serious roles where it's not superhero based, I guess you could say. But he, of course, he was in Materialist earlier this year. He was in Materialist. He played that role well, and he did amazing in this role too. And it was very funny to watch Captain America curse. It was very, very funny. I think that's probably another one of my favorite scenes too, is when they're arguing over the will, and he's just saying, in part of my language, he was just saying, eat shit, you eat shit, it's just so funny. It's just so funny. And then, you have Michael Shannon as Walt. It was an interesting role for sure. But it was certainly interesting, to say the least. And then you have Toni Collette, who played Joni Thornberry, who was the daughter-in-law. And it was just amazing to me. It was just everybody did great. Jamie Lee Curtis as Linda Drysdale, absolutely amazing. And then you have Christopher Plummer, who played Harlan, who did an amazing job in that role too. This cast is just stacked. It's just absolutely stacked. It couldn't. I don't think it could have been any better. I don't think it could have been any better than what it was. And it was truly incredible. I think it's truly incredible. So now we'll get on to the mystery mechanics and the rewatch value of this movie. I would definitely rewatch this movie for sure. I don't think it's one of those movies that, I don't know, I would have to test out that theory, but I don't think this is one of those movies that you could just, walk off and leave and come back and know where you are. One of those types of movies. I've said that for several of the movies that I've reviewed so far, but this one, I don't know if it has that factor to it, but it's once you know the truth, the movie becomes a game of spotting the details you missed the first time. So it's you kind of have to sit there and watch it in order to get all the details, which I think I got quite a bit of detail from my first watch too. which I think is interesting, to say the least. So, yeah, it's yeah. All of the clues. Now, to be fair, my memory is crap, to say the least. So, Blanc laying out all of the clues. So you have, because the clues kind of evolve after you get to the end. The clues kind of evolve, and you see the true picture. But with all of the clues that they have, everything pointed to Marta. Everything pointed to her. She left tracks. There was mud on the carpet from where she had walked, and there was mud on the windowsill from where she had gotten up. But as she had come back down, she saw the great-grandma, and she was like, "Ransom, you're back again?" Which, of course, I didn't think anything of it, because I was just like, oh, she's just referring to earlier at the party when he had left. You know, she had, I thought that's what she was referring to at first, but then we see at the end that Ransom had actually swapped the meds and climbed back down, and she was standing there, and she's like, "Ransom, you're back?" You know, and so, yeah, that was another big clue, was the great-grandma. And then, of course, let's see, I'm trying to think of, and then you have Fran, who was another big clue. And so, there's that as well. And, I generally think I would rewatch it just to see if I could catch the hidden jokes, because I don't think I catched many jokes. There was maybe 3 or 4 that I caught and I laughed at, but other than that, I don't think I don't really know, but we're gonna go ahead and wrap up this episode. So, Knives Out isn't just clever, it's fun. Legitimately fun. It makes you feel like you're in on the game the whole time. It's like you're in on it. It's like the way they made the movie is they made you a part of it too somehow, and it's like you're trying to figure this out. They give you the clues to help you figure it out, but the characters themselves are still figuring out themselves what actually happened, even though us as the audience know what happened. And I think that's where the twist comes in with Marta, and because we don't see her flashbacks until she gets sat in there and done the interview with the detective and the two cops. But just to ask you guys, I've got some questions for you. Did you guess the twist the first time around, or did this movie completely fool you too? And also, who's your favorite side character in the Thrombey clan? I don't know what my favorite character would be. I mean, honestly, I enjoyed Ransom, despite him being a jerk. I did enjoy Chris Evans a lot in this movie. He did really well as Ransom, and honestly, I actually like the name Ransom a lot, for some weird reason. But, I digress. That's all for today's episode of Popcorn Unscripted.
Thanks so much for tuning in.
If you enjoyed the conversation, be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at PopUnscripted, then Popcorn Cinema on Facebook.
And let us know your thoughts or any suggestions for future episodes. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future episodes. We upload every Wednesday and Saturday.
If you'd like to send us a message or subscribe for bonus content, check out the links in the description.
Your support means a lot and helps keep the conversation going.
If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to leave us a review. It helps us out a ton, and we love hearing your thoughts.
Until next time, keep your popcorn close
and your movie critiques closer.
Thanks for listening to Popcorn Unscripted.